Cincinnati lives in Clifton. He's one of us. Peter's the author of several best-selling books. His work is about empowerment, stewardship, chosen accountability, and the reconciliation of community. And if you want to listen to the radio next week, he's going to be my radio guest as well. Please join me in welcoming Peter Block.
So it's nice to be here. I can be in a place that takes new thought. Not sure I can promise any new thoughts, but it's a nice inspiration. I think I'm standing in the wrong spot. I've thought about what would be useful for you to use these 20 minutes in a useful way. And one of the thoughts I had was why I, as a citizen of Cincinnati, need you. That you have a job to do. You need the faith community in this world. I also thought that the idea of most of the world is we're not enough. We talk about unity, Buddhist mentions unity. Well, how about we are also enough? Because the dialogue in the world is there's something wrong with us. You listen to the radio, you listen to television, you read the paper, and a constant curriculum is as much to be afraid of when there's something wrong with us. And that comes from a very specific place. That in about 1925, in the midst of the industrial growth of this country, they discovered that they could make all the shoes needed by all the citizens of this country in 14 weeks. And they said, what are we going to do with the other 38 weeks of capacity? We have a problem. Come up with the idea, let's convince people that one pair of shoes isn't enough. Right? And now we have shoe closets as a result of that. We get about 10,000 messages a day that what you have isn't enough. And as soon as you buy something new, you get to the parking lot and you want to go buy the newest version of it. And so the message again and again is that whatever you have is not enough. And if what I have is not enough, then I conclude I am not enough. And so we're all works in progress. We're all projects. I've been working on myself for the better part of 70 years. I started a little bit. The truth is, I see little signs of improvement over those 70 years, but it doesn't keep me from the conclusion that we're not enough. And it's easy every time we gather together to have the same conversation, that we're not enough, what I need is more. So the point of this 20 minutes is to question that and to say maybe what we have is enough. And I'm more concerned about we as a city, as a neighborhood, as a community, with the constant messages we need more, and we hear all these problems. So the consumer assumption is you're not enough. And that's part of this conversation. What you have are two gifts. One is you have the gift of hospitality. You know how to welcome strangers. I couldn't even get out of the parking lot without being hugged twice. I liked it. And so you know what it is to welcome strangers. This culture is terrified of strangers. We have a huge immigration conversation going on as if there's something wrong. We're building a wall. We tore down the Berlin Wall. We should have just lifted it up and put it in Texas and Mexico. Which says to our neighbor to the south who we colonized, stay out. So you're the antidote to that. You have a sense of hospitality. You also have an enormous focus on gifts. You have a language that the world needs desperately. And most of the culture is organized around the business perspective. It says how fast can we get it? It's a speed. How much does it cost? How efficient can we be? We have all this technology to make life more convenient and faster. And that's the message. That's the business perspective. And everything you hear is through that perspective. We have a corporatist culture. And the whole question. We almost elected an executive president last time around. What was his major qualification? He was a good executive. He would bring the business perspective to our world. You have a humanist perspective. You have a communal perspective. You have in your language, and I love the notion that all transformation is linguistic. That the world changes with your language. I come in this room, and it's your language that brings us together. And so you have language that restores our humanity. Most of the life steals our humanity. We've turned our children into pawns against international competition. Now we have high-stakes testing, all right, which is a form of the business. Let's measure them as if a hog ever got fatter on a scale. Never happened. And so as soon as our kids, our children go to school, we turn them from learners into performers. And as soon as you do that, you've stolen their humanity. And so you have the capacity as a faith community for the restoration of our humanity. You have the language of forgiveness. You have the language of compassion. You have the language of love. No other community uses the language like you do. You have the music of love. And so we need you. We need you to do a job for us, me as a citizen of Cincinnati. Part of the consumer assumption is you can buy anything you need. So I've outsourced the raising of my children to the schools. I've outsourced the safety of my block to the police. I've outsourced my health to the healthcare professionals. I go to Dottie Schaefer and I expect her to keep me healthy. She says, "Peter, how are you doing?" And I lied to her. I said, "I'm just fine." She asked me very specific questions and I lie about those also, which I will not go into. So we've outsourced the care of our children, we've outsourced our health, we've outsourced our safety. So part of our job as community builders is to reclaim those functions. We need those systems. It's not an argument. And so to me, part of the reason that a faith community exists is to help us raise our children. And it doesn't mean more services for our children. It doesn't mean better schools. I have no complaint with our schools. Our teachers, God bless our teachers. We've been assaulting them for years. And so part of what and all of you are here in two functions. You have a neighborhood for this building, Walnut Hills, and you live somewhere. And so my thought is that as an outward-facing faith community, we need your help. We need you to be in these neighborhoods. Forget about the national conversation. There's nothing there to give us hope or faith. This is not the conversation nationally. It's an ideological conversation where people would rather be right than work something out. It's not a statewide conversation. It's a local conversation. So there's certain functions. And when Frida talks about the one serving the world, the common good is what we have given away. In the privatization of schools, now we privatize parking lots. We try to privatize water supply. Everything we said the private sector. Well, the private sector is just that. It's private. We'll never know what they're really doing. So this is about the restoration of the commons. And there's certain functions. For example, we need a strong global economy. Right now, we have no consciousness about our dollars. We don't realize they're political acts. We still go to Walmart. We still go to Home Depot. We still go to big box stores. And we think we're saving $1, but it's costing us $3 because all that money is going to Fayetteville, Arkansas. And so part of our work is to organize citizens and neighbors to take their dollars and spend them locally. If you pay a little more or buy a little less, well, we have enough to begin with. And so the idea of a strong economy isn't going to come from the state or the federal government. The idea that we hold the President of the United States responsible for our economy is a child's notion. It's an outsourcing notion. So I would love to see a faith community get very active in the local economy. Take Woodburn Avenue, for example. Let's make sure that every store there is successful. And so the economy is one job we have to do. Another job we have to do is the raising of our children. Our children need to be known. They need to be seen. They need to be in the neighborhood. We need to feel that they can walk more than one block from their house, which is the average now. you know how to do? We need you. What are you willing to teach other people? Simple neighborly conversations. So this becomes and the language is key to that. And so you say, well, maybe relationship is more important than speed. Maybe caring for the neighborhood is more important than cost or efficiency or all the other things we worship. So I'd like to do one thing, give this room an example of this. So it's kind of strange to be one world, a community, and yet we still have these ancient structures of pews, chairs, bolted to the floor. If you wanted to face each other, you have to get out, or we have to bring tools. And so what I'd like to do is take 2 minutes and do something to engage you with each other, because every gathering has to be an example of its theory. Every time we come together, we have to embody that. So I'd like you to find one other person in this room that you don't know. So when you build a community, it's always with strangers. If you want any kind of change or transformation, it's always with a stranger. With strangers, you have a chance of being surprised. With people who think they know you, surprise is not an option. Because you try new behavior, and they say, what are you doing? Did you go to another workshop? What do they talk about? So take 2 minutes, find another person, answer one question, okay? Why was it important for you to be here today? Got it? So I'm in charge. Do this now. Be back in conversation about what's possible, what we can create together, and not have a conversation about what's wrong with us and what the problems are. Problem solving never created an alternative future. And there's great examples in this city that are organized that way. There's Cornerstone as a housing, it's wealth creation for poor people, unbelievable. There's Elements, which is an urban arts center for kids, you know. And so that's kind of the basic idea. Now there's one more thing I need to say to you, that Eugene has a son. And this is a message to you, Eugene. And I coached him his senior year in high school in tennis. And he's a magnificent soul. But I've been living with something for years. And that a match he played near the end of the season, I made a bad call.